Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Video Recording Essentials. My name is Jesse, and I'm coming to you live from the Massillon Public Library here in our recording studio. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about videos. We're going to be talking about how you can use your smartphone to record and edit videos. So we're going to go through just some basics. This is going to be somewhat similar to the photo classes that we did a couple of months ago, but we're going to be focusing on the video side. This class is presented by the Massillon Public Library, as I mentioned before, and we're coming to you live from there. But we also have a couple partner libraries that I want to give a shout out to. We are partnering with Louisville Public Library and Orville Public Library. So we have some people, I believe, from both of those libraries who are joining us. So if there's anybody from there, welcome. We hope you like our class. All right. So what I want to do before we kind of get into the actual content for tonight is I want to talk about kind of what we do here, since we may have some new people in the audience. We have been doing technology classes online since the fall of last year, and we've done classes on a number of different topics. We've done privacy, security. We did some classes on Excel. We did some classes on photography. We just have done a lot of different topics, and we do usually about one per month. I think that's kind of the routine that we're settling into. Some months we've done more, but we're doing these live on YouTube. We had been doing them on Zoom, but we kind of switched to YouTube a few months ago, and we've been liking how that's going. So that's a little bit about us, and our whole goal here is to basically enable you to better use the technology in your life. So, you know, your smartphone, your computer, all of that kind of stuff. We want to make that more understandable for you, and we want to make it something that you can use to hopefully, you know, have a better impact on your life. About myself, so I am a technology trainer here at the Massillon Public Library. I've been in the field of IT and or technology training for 9 years now. So that's kind of my background, and I've worked at Stark Library, and then now I'm here at Massillon Library. I'm also joined tonight by Jeff, who is going to be helping us out, as he has done the last 4 or 5 classes, I think. So I'm going to switch over to him now. How's it going, Jeff?
Oh, good, Jesse. How you doing tonight?
Good, pretty good.
So, I'm excited about today's class. And for anyone who's new here or just joining, my name is Jeff. I also work at the Massillon Public Library in the technology department. I have a little over 15 years in library and technology experience. And tonight, I'm going to kind of be the middleman between you and Jesse. So, you guys, if you want to type anything in the chat, or you want to send an email to the email address that's listed, I believe, below Jesse over there, you can go ahead and send those questions in. Jesse will periodically stop or pause for a little drink break, which we allow him to have, and we can get those questions to him. So, Yep. Hope you enjoy the class.
Yep. And we're going to be stopping quite a few times throughout the class. At the end of every section, I try to do that. So yeah, hope to hear from you throughout tonight. All right, we're going to be checking in with Jeff as we go on tonight. So what I want to do now is talk about kind of the actual content for tonight's class, which is recording videos. And what I usually do in these classes is start out by talking about why this is important. You know, why even spend an hour of your life talking about videos. And so one of the reasons that we're doing this is because videos are a great way to tell a story. And this actually kind of dovetails with our summer reading program here at the Massillon Public Library. So we are doing Imagine Your Story as the theme. And so we were kind of thinking of a way that we could kind of integrate with that. And we thought, you know, video recording would be a great topic for that. Another reason that we kind of, I think, gravitated towards that is because we've done a lot of video work here in the last year. And Jeff, you know, can probably attest to this, but, you know, I've learned a ton about video since I came here to Massillon, and we've been doing live programs. We've done some pre-recorded stuff, and it's just all kind of a new world that we've learned a lot about, and we want to share that knowledge with you. Another reason why this class is important and why this topic is important is that smartphones are pretty much ubiquitous now, and they have made video recording very accessible. So in the past, you would have needed a giant camera, one of those that you put on your shoulder, and maybe you had the camcorder that was a little smaller, but you needed something special to record a video. Well, now you don't need anything special at all. You have your video camera in your pocket or in your purse, and you carry it around with you everywhere. As a result of that, it's way easier to make videos, and a lot more people do it. A lot of people upload videos to social media like Facebook, maybe Instagram, other platforms. So there's all kinds of opportunities to post videos. There's also YouTube, which we are on right now, and a lot of people are interested in kind of getting into YouTube, and they want to know, well, how do I make videos? How do I do that? When it comes to video, and especially with video, I would say quality matters. It absolutely does matter. If you are posting or making videos that are not that fun to watch or that are not done that well, it will be very distracting for your audience, and you're probably not going to get a lot of people watching your videos. So what we want to do tonight is kind of show you how to make videos that are, they're not going to be professional, quality, but they will be hopefully a little bit better than what you were doing before, and it will be something that you can show to other people and share with other people. Our purpose tonight is to teach you how to record and edit videos with a phone. So we are basically just going to be showing you some of the things that you can do to make just basic videos. So this is not going to be a class that's going to be teaching you how to make the next hit Hollywood film by any means, but it will show you how to make videos, of like friends, family, that kind of stuff that you can feel good about posting on social media if you desire. This class is designed for, like I just said, those who want to take videos of family and friends. So if you're in that category, this class is for you. This class is also kind of targeting people who want to get into YouTube, so aspiring YouTubers who don't know where to start. If you kind of are thinking about maybe making your own YouTube channel and maybe making videos, maybe you have some good ideas, but you don't know how to kind of get started with the technical side of things, this class is going to hopefully give you some ideas how to do that. All right. What we're going to talk about tonight is 3 topics. So we have 3 main topics. The first topic is going to be accessing the camera and the settings. So we're going to show you where that's located on both an Android and an iOS or an iPhone, iOS device or an iPhone. We are then going to be looking at some basic and very simple tips for recording. So things that you can do in the actual recording process to make better videos. Finally, we're going to be looking at editing and exporting those videos. So once you've done all the work, actually producing the video, now you're into post-production. Well, what do? How do you actually get that onto maybe a social media platform, or let's say you need to cut something out of the video? We'll kind of show you some simple things you can do to do that. That is our game plan for tonight. That's kind of where we're going. As I said before, and as Jeff said, we're going to be stopping throughout the class. This is a live class, so if you have questions, use that chat or use the email address below, trainer@massillonlibrary.org, and we will definitely try to answer your questions. I love hearing from people as we do these classes. All right. Let's go ahead and get started, and we are going to start with accessing the camera and settings. And so for this topic, I want to kind of start by kind of establishing how you're going to even get to record videos on your device. And you might be thinking, well, do I need a special app or do I need to pay for something? And the answer for that is no, you don't need to pay for anything or even download anything. You can use the default camera app that is on your device, on your phone, to record videos. And that's what we're going to be showing you in the rest of this section. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our devices. I've got 2 devices. You can't see them here, but they're right in front of me. I have an Android device and I have an iPad, which will be pretty similar to an iPhone. So we're going to be showing you both of those. I'm going to start with the Android device. So I'll switch over. There we go. So here is our Android device. Now the camera app is what we're looking for. And so on Android, if you don't see the icon here on the home screen, you can just swipe up from the kind of towards the bottom, and then you can find camera, right? So there's camera at the top right. I'm just going to tap on that. And then it does kind of rotate here for some kind of technical reason. So just bear with me for that. This should kind of look like if you had the phone, you know, in the portrait view, this would be what it would look like. So you can see we have a couple different buttons there in the bottom. We've got one button that is the camera, so for still photos, and that's the one on the right. It looks like a little kind of like a DSLR camera. To the left of that, there is something that looks like a video camera, kind of like an old-fashioned, you know, something you'd see on the set of a movie. That is going to be our video record button, okay? And so if we wanted to record a video, we can just tap on that, and then it will begin to enter that mode, and it will actually record. And you can see it is sideways, and I apologize for that, but it is recording right now. The red icon there is our stop, so we can stop recording, and we just saved a little video. And then that's pretty much the basics of recording a video on Android. Now, there's one question that I kind of want to answer here that involves which camera do you want to use? You know, so you have multiple cameras on your device. You have a front camera and a back camera. Which camera to use? Front or back? So you typically want to use the rear camera for most of your stuff. So I have an iPhone here that I can kind of hold up. So when we talk about the front and back cameras, so this is the back of the device, right? This is going to be the rear camera. If we flip it around, there is a camera on the front of this. You can see it's right there. You probably can't see that, but I can see it. And that's typically used for selfies. So if you were going to be recording things, you know, where you maybe it's like it would be called like a vlog, you know, VLOG, kind of like a video blog. You might want to use the selfie camera for that. But for most things, especially if you're taking shots of other people, you want to use this rear camera, right? So, you know, you want to kind of hold it out like this. So that's one thing to consider here. And so to switch cameras on Android, we'll switch back to our Android device. You want to go to that button towards the top of the screen that is a little camera, and it's got arrows kind of going to the top and the bottom. They're kind of going in a circle. If you tap on that, that will show you, and there is my finger there, but there we can see that is looking up in our studio, and there's all kinds of stuff going on here. You can see our light and all kinds of different things. So I'm going to switch back there to our other camera, but that's how you switch cameras. And we talked about this in relation to taking photos, but for videos, it is still, you know, applicable. Now I'm going to switch over to the Apple device, and we will look at how to do all of that on the iPad. And this will be the same as doing it on an iPhone, right? So we'll go over here. So here's our iPad. We want to find the camera app, so we will look for that camera app on the bottom there on the dock. And then you can see we have very similar types of things going on here, right? So we have a button at the right on this one that is for taking pictures, but then at the bottom, right below that, you see how it says video, photo, and square, and photo is in yellow? That means we're in photo mode. So if we want to go to video mode, we can just kind of swipe, you know, up to get to video. And now you can see that that button on the right has turned to a red icon, and red typically means record a video in these camera apps. So if you see red, it's going to always mean record a video. So if we tap on that, it will start recording, and then we can hit the red square that has appeared on the right there to stop the recording, and we've recorded a little video. Now we can do the same thing that we did with the Android device as far as switching cameras. So right above the record icon on the right, there is a little circular arrow icon, and that does the same thing. So this is probably going to look kind of weird again, but you can see the top of the ceiling there, and there's one of our giant lights we have in here. We're going to talk about lighting here in a little bit. That is how you switch between the rear and the front camera. Okay, so that is the basics of recording videos. If you can do that, you can record a video. So maybe you're familiar with taking photos, but you didn't really know where that video stuff was located at. That's where it's at, and it's super simple to record a video. All right, and then to view them, you would view them the same way as you view photos. So you would go to your Photos app, on either of the devices, Android or Apple, and then you're going to be able to see your videos there, and then watch them and delete them and all kinds of stuff like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about settings now. So we've kind of established the basics of taking videos on a phone or a tablet, but now we need to maybe get a little deeper and to know about the settings that we may have access to. And so there's two things in particular that I'm going to talk about. We're not going to overwhelm you with a bunch of technical details and jargon, but there are two settings that you really should know if you're going to be doing videos. The first of those is resolution. You really need to know what resolution is. And basically, resolution refers to how many pixels are in the frame. Now, I could try to give you a technical definition of this, but it's easier to show you. I'm going to show you a picture here that I got off of a site that I go to a lot called Unsplash. It's got photos that are available to use for free. It's a pretty cool site. So I found this picture of this very colorful bird. And so you can see on the left, we see the picture, in full. And then I've zoomed in on a little section of that bird on the right. And you can see that it's very blown up. We zoomed in quite a bit. If you kind of look real close, you can see there are all these little squares in the picture. Each one of those squares is a pixel, and basically you create kind of like a mosaic. If you're familiar with art, people do like mosaics. This is almost like a mosaic to create this picture. Now, when you're zoomed out far enough, you don't see the pixels, and that's good. But basically, the more pixels you have, the clearer and more detailed of a shot you will get. All right, so that's resolution just in a nutshell. Now, as far as the different types of resolution you can use, there are three big ones that are available to most people, or to some people, I should say, depending on your phone. So we're going to go through those, and there's just a list of them here. So I'm going to show you all of them, and then we'll talk about each. The top resolution there is 3840 by 2160. That's also known as 4K. Okay, and 4K is I would say the highest resolution that is commonly available to people. Some of you have 4K TVs, maybe many of you do at this point. 4K is going to look the best, but it's also going to be the largest in terms of file size, and also it will typically, it won't make that big of a difference over 1080p depending on the device you're looking at. So the second resolution that we have is 1920 by 1080, and this is known as full HD. HD stands for high definition, or just 1080p. And this is probably the standard. This is the one that most people are going to be shooting at, and this is what, like everybody pretty much has, or most people have a 1080p display, a TV, monitor, things like that to look at things on. Below that, at the bottom, we have 1280 by 720, and this is known as high definition, or 720p, and this is the lowest of the HD resolutions that most people are going to have access to. This is still pretty good, but it's noticeably not quite as good as 1080p. The question of which to use is kind of going to be determined by your device. Your device might only let you take 1080p videos, or it might give you an option of 720 or 1080. Some of them will give you the option of 4K, and then some devices might even give you the option of 8K, which honestly is kind of overkill right now because we don't really have 8K monitors or TVs, at least most of us don't. And so I would recommend sticking with 1080p if you can, and maybe do 4K if you have a good enough camera to handle it. But I honestly think 1080p is probably the place to be. Now, as far as seeing these settings, we're going to see that here in a second, but I want to talk about a second type of setting that you may need to access, and that is called frame rate. Okay. Frame rate basically is the measure of how many frames are in the shot. And so you have to remember when you talk about video, video is a sequence of images, right? It's a moving picture. That's why we call it a movie. And so when we talk about frame rate, we are actually measuring these things in frames per second, or FPS. So frames per second is how we measure frame rate. Now, as far as common frame rates, we're going to get to those here in a second. But the moral of the story here is that the higher frame rate or the higher FPS you have, the less motion blur you will have in your shot. And motion blur refers to, like, when I move around, you'll see there's a little bit of blur here as I move my hand. You know, it's not completely crisp. If we were shooting at 120 frames per second, it probably would be. You wouldn't see any blur. But like right now, you know, there's a little bit of blur. And it really doesn't matter for this. For something like sports, or things like that, it could come into play a little bit more. But higher frame rate means typically less motion blur. Common frame rates, we have 120 frames per second, which is the highest. This would be for like sports or high action kind of stuff. 60 frames per second is still pretty high. And then 30 frames per second is probably the common standard for most devices. So most of you are going to be shooting at that frame rate. Below that, we have 24 frames per second, and that is used for films. So in cinema, we will use 24 frames per second. And it actually, some movies have shot their movies at a higher frame rate, and audiences have not received it very well because it looks weird. They call it like a soap opera effect. Soap operas are shot at a higher frame rate, and it just looks different and it feels different. And so you kind of choose frame rate based on what you're doing, what kind of video you want to make. For most people, I think 30 frames per second is probably good unless you're doing sports or something like that. All right. So we've talked about all of that. I want to show you how to access those settings on our devices, okay? And so for the Android device, we are going to look at how to do it on there first. And you can see we are in our camera app here, and I apologize, this may be tilted. Again, that's a little technical glitch going on here. It is tilted. So let me just translate this for you. So we have a video quality here. It's the second from the top, and it says 1080p. We basically have a choice of 1080p or 720p, and that is about it. So this device does not give you that much control over what resolution you have. You only have two choices, and it doesn't give you any control over the frame rate, which is okay. Let's switch over to the Apple device. So we'll go over there real quick. In Apple, you are not, or on an iPhone, you are not going to be able to access settings from within the camera app. You are going to need to go out of the camera app, as I just did, and then go to settings, and then go to camera. So on the sidebar, you slide down until you see camera, tap on that, and then under record video, you can tap there, and you have two choices. And so they do actually tell you what the frame rate is. You have 720p at 30 frames per second or 1080p at 30 frames per second. So again, not really much choice here, probably the same amount of choice that we have on Android, but at the very least you can control the resolution. So that's how you access the settings on both Android and on an iPhone or an iOS device. What we're going to do now is talk about one last thing, and then we're going to pause for questions. But the one last thing is going to be audio, and specifically we're going to be talking about whether or not you want to use an external microphone for your videos. Now, Most people probably aren't going to do this. You know, most people, you want to take your camera, you know, your phone, and just record stuff, and you don't want to think about stuff. But if you are wanting to do maybe like YouTube videos, you know, we talked about that a little bit at the beginning. You might want to think about having a little better audio. We had to do a lot of different things here to find good audio, and we actually ended up with these mics that you can see that are kind of conspicuous, but they give us really good sound, and so we like them, and we use these mics. If you are doing a YouTube video with your phone, you can use something called a lavalier mic, which is this little guy here. I know you can't quite see that, but it's this little, maybe it would be called a lapel mic in some situations. This mic would clip on to your shirt. So you would kind of do one of these, put it there, and then you kind of run the cable down to your phone, and you can get wireless ones and different things like that, but it just plugs in with this little, I forget, Jeff, is this a TRS or a TRRS?
It is a TRRS.
Okay, there we go.
Got to have
Jeff,
the TRRS
yes.
for the phone.
Yes, so there's two different kinds of ones. You want the TRRS. It gets very technical. But so it just plugs in to the headphone port. And now you might be thinking, well, wait, I've got an iPhone and I don't have a headphone port. So what do? You actually are in luck. You have a little lightning to headphone kind of extender here that you can use to plug in your device to one of these lavalier mics. So if you have an iPhone, just get one of these little adapters. I don't know how much these cost. I'm guessing they would.
With the Apple tax, it's like 15, I think, easy. 10 to 15 range, I think.
Not surprising. Yeah, so not that bad. Maybe a little overpriced, but you can get one of these and then plug it in, and you can still get that better audio. So audio through something like this is going to be a lot better than something through your phone, especially if you maybe are in certain conditions, you're in a big room, there's a lot of echo. There's all kinds of different factors that can come into play. We're actually in a very echoey room here, but you don't hear a lot of echo because the mics we chose to use kind of reduce that and they mitigate that. So anyway, there's a lot of things to think about with video. We've tried to give you like a nice little overview of just how to get to the camera on your device, and then how to record, and then also how to kind of adjust some of those settings. It's just good to have an understanding of resolution and frame rate, and then also audio, and kind of take all of that into consideration as you make your videos. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a drink because I need to take drinks here throughout the class. And then I'm also going to check in with Jeff and see if we had any questions that came in, or if he has anything he would like to add. So did we get anything, Jeff?
No questions yet, but I did want to point out that it seems like Android devices are still defeating you. We've had... That has been, there's just something about Android that we continue to have some technical issues with, but it's just funny.
Right.
I did double check. The adapter is actually $9 so far. I mean, that's still a little pricey, but not too bad.
Yeah.
And I was going to say audio is probably one of the most important things if you want to shoot a vlog or do anything for YouTube, is to have that good video. I think some of the newer iPhones have a little bit better mic, but there's really nothing better than having a mic that's a lot closer to your mouth, so that it's not creating that echo.
Yeah, and that's one thing. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Jeff, because we found that we used to, I guess I can share this. We used to have a mic that was kind of like up here, and it was kind of far away, and the audio didn't really sound that great. And we actually got some feedback from you guys, from the audience, and you were saying, oh, maybe you guys can clean up the audio this way or that. Well, when we got the mics that are right here, that cleared up a lot of our problems. So I can definitely vouch for what Jeff is saying.
We do have a question here. It says, where do you recommend purchasing high quality microphones? The quality cheap, what do you have to invest kind of deal? I will say these, surprisingly, the ones we have, I guess mine's right here, just they're the Samsung, not a Samsung, it's Samsung, but they're kind of cool. They're cheaper, man. How much are they?
60.
Are they 60?
60 or 70, yeah.
Cool thing about them is they have USB, so you can plug it USB straight into your computer. And then they also have the XLR standard plug. So that's more like what you see on like higher quality audio or microphones that you can run into a mixer or something like that. So it kind of gives you the option. And it comes with, I think I have it, a cool little,
There we go.
yeah, a little tripod stand that you can also put it on if you're using it with like a laptop or something.
Yeah. And then I know there are some online sites, not that we're trying to endorse anyone, but I know one of the ones that we were looking at, Jeff, was it like Sweetwater, was it? They sell a lot of like audio specific stuff.
Yeah, Sweetwater does. The Samsung you can get from Amazon.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Yep.
So
So you have a lot of different choices when it comes to finding mics. But yeah, thank you for that question.
I think the Samsung's also available at Best Buy too,
Yeah.
right? If you want to stay
Yep.
local.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So yeah, thank you for the question. And as we go along, if you have any other questions, just feel free to type them in the chat, send us an email, and we will definitely answer those. All right, we're going to go ahead and move right along here and talk about our next kind of topic. So we have spent a good deal of time talking about accessing the camera and the settings, and that is kind of the pure technical side of this. What we're going to do now is get a little more into the making a video side of things, and we're going to look at some just tips for recording. So, I'm thinking, you've never done a video before. Video is kind of scary. It's kind of weird. How do you navigate that? We're going to give you some tips for how to make better videos. And so the first group of tips I have are kind of geared towards how to take the video. And then the second group of tips, I think the last two are going to be geared towards actually you on screen, how to have a better presence on a video. So we have kind of two different things we're doing in this section. My first piece of advice for people is to hold the camera to reduce camera shake. So you absolutely want to hold the camera to reduce camera shake. And so, we talked a lot about this for the photo class, but one thing you want to do, and I'll kind of demonstrate here, you want to kind of hold the camera solidly. So, with two hands, preferably. If you have just one hand and you're kind of doing one of these, a lot of people do that like at a concert or something like that. You're going to get video that's going to be all, shaking around and wobbling, and it's going to be disorienting. So you want to kind of have a nice solid grip. Make sure you don't block the camera there. You can see my finger is kind of dangerously close to doing that. This is a lot more solid. Another thing you can do is you can kind of do one of these and tuck your elbows in. And we talked about doing that in the photo class, but that's going to give you a nice solid base. So this camera is not going to shake very much at all if you do that. You can also do things like put your elbows on a table or lean up against a wall, and that will, just add more and more stability for you. So, you don't want that camera to be shaking. The ultimate in not having the camera shake is to use a tripod. And so Jeff showed you an example of like a very small tripod that was used for a mic, but you can get tripods for your phone. They're usually about the size of the one he showed you. They have kind of the smaller legs, and you can set those up anywhere. You can set it up on a table. If you are doing things where it's more like you're standing somewhere, you can get a full height tripod that will usually accept a phone on the top as well as a camera. We have tripods. In fact, I'm looking at a tripod right now as I'm talking to you, and they help out tremendously. If you don't have to hold the camera, you don't want to be holding the camera, because then you can introduce a lot of shake and blur and all kinds of bad things as a result of that. So holding the camera is absolutely essential. You don't want it to be moving around. The second thing that you want to think about is lighting. Good lighting goes a long way. In fact, I would say good lighting, it absolutely makes or breaks not only videos, but also photos. And with lighting, there's the one thing to think about, which is the scene well lit? We talked about that in our photo classes, and we talked about, kind of being cognizant of the lights around you. With video, if you're shooting something that's kind of like more set up. So, like here we have an actual studio environment kind of, and we can kind of set things up. You saw that there's a giant light right here, right? You saw that through the cameras earlier. We have what is our approximation, I guess I would say, of a 3-point lighting setup. And this is something Jeff kind of introduced me to, and I've learned a lot about it as we've done a lot of video stuff. I have a diagram to illustrate what I mean by this. So this is 3-point lighting. So you can see in the center we have a subject. At the front, which is at the bottom of your screen, you have on the right, it's a key light. And that light is bigger than all the other ones because it is going to be your biggest, brightest light. Okay, it's called the key light. On the other side, at like a 45-degree angle from the subject, you will have the fill light. And the fill light is designed to fill in shadows that are cast by the bigger light on, for instance, the subject's face. Behind the subject, you would then have something called a backlight, which is the dimmest of the 3 lights, and that is designed to give a nice little glow. Some people call this a hair light because it just gives you a nice glow. It separates you from your background. So if you look here, I don't know that we have the 3-point lighting set up perfectly, but we do have it to a large degree here, and you can see, there's not like crazy shadows on my face. If we didn't have a fill light over here, there might be. And we also have some lights behind us. In fact, we have a light directly behind me on the wall that gives a nice little colorful tone to the wall. So we have, all told, in this room, I think we have like 6 or 7 lights between the two of us. I think 7 we counted, yeah. Right, Jeff?
Yeah, we have quite a few.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on here. But it is kind of necessary to get a good picture, to get a good shot. So lighting, absolutely a big deal. Now, if you're taking pictures of family and friends at a cookout or, at a birthday party, you're not going to have that, right? But if you're one of those people who wants to do something a little more involved, maybe do something on YouTube, it's something that you should definitely think about. Another thing that I would encourage you to do if you are shooting videos with your phone is to zoom in post-production. What I mean by that is do not zoom while you are, taking the video unless you have a real good reason to, And what I'm talking about is, remember how we talked about pinching to zoom in or out? If you do that and it's not smooth, and I guarantee you it's not going to be smooth, it does not look very good. It can be very distracting, and it can almost, the same with the shake, it can kind of make your viewers get a little like queasy, even like, oh, like I feel like I'm on a ship, and it's kind of, and you don't want that. You want things to be nice and smooth. And when you edit videos, you can actually zoom in after the fact, and it's going to be the same type of effect. So rather than try to do that while you're taking the video, just take the video, take the shot, and then in post-production, when you're editing, then zoom in. And we learned this when we were making a video. We actually had 2 separate camera setups and stuff, and then we realized, hey, we can just do this after the fact. Why were we messing with all that? So it's definitely it's a nice thing to be able to do. So those are basically going to be the more kind of technique side of things, like how to actually take better videos. What I want to do now is talk about you in front of the camera, or whoever you are talking, whoever you're filming, that is, how do you do a better job at being on video? And so I can speak to this, like when I first started doing videos here for the library and doing classes like this, it was really weird. I'm kind of strange in that I do enjoy talking in front of people. Like I like public speaking. I know a lot of people are kind of, they don't enjoy that. I kind of do, but when I sat down to do these videos, it was like, there's nobody here. And I'm talking to this camera that's right in front of me, and it never blinks, and it never gives me any feedback. And it was really a difficult thing to get used to, but now it feels very normal. Like I'm looking right into the camera here and I'm talking to you just like you're sitting in front of me. So it is something you can get better at. But what I recommend is to basically get comfortable talking to a camera. Talk to the camera on your phone, talk to the camera on your laptop, and then watch it and see what you do wrong. See, okay, I'm not looking in the right spot, or, maybe I'm mumbling, or maybe I'm doing this, or maybe it just doesn't feel natural. And then do that more and do it again and do it again. And eventually it will become second nature to you, and you will feel completely at ease talking to a camera. I've read things for people who are on TV, like news anchors. They would spend hundreds and hundreds of hours just practicing when they were younger, and then by the time they get to where they're auditioning for a role at a news station, they the people were impressed because they knew how to speak. They were comfortable. It was fluid. It was normal. So just practice, and you will get comfortable with talking to a camera. The other thing that I would point out here is when you're doing videos, and this is a very difficult thing, and I recognize this because I went through it, and I also see people that we work with here in the library struggling with this. You want to be looking at the camera, not yourself. And this applies if you're doing kind of one of those things where you have the the selfie up, you can see yourself, or maybe you're looking at like a laptop or a screen. It's almost second nature to want to look at you. So like for me, I can see me when I look right over there. If I was just looking over here, you're going to be like, who's he talking to? He's not talking to us. He's talking to them, or whoever that is over there. When I talk to you directly, when I look right in the camera, it seems like I'm talking to you. And it's a hard thing to get your mind around, and it's a hard thing to get used to, but you definitely want to look right into the camera and talk to the camera. And if you do that, people will feel like you're talking to them, and it'll just be much better for you, and your videos will be a lot more convincing. All right? That's about all I have for tips for recording. We're going to check for questions again, and then also see if Jeff has any insights to add here, because I know he's been involved with a lot of this stuff as well here at the library. So did we get anything, Jeff?
Nothing yet. I did want to tack on to your talking to the camera.
Yeah.
We have had some success. If you find it difficult, which I think all of us do, we have had some success with some of our people putting like a picture or something kind of like above the camera. So like they're almost talking to the audience as that like picture. So
Right.
you kind of have some feedback of someone looking at you. Mm-hmm. So that can be very helpful if you are struggling in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good advice. Yeah, and I know what you mean. We have seen people who literally do that, and it makes them feel more comfortable. Another thing that, as you said, that I was thinking of is I've heard advice given that, like, imagine you're talking to a person and just in your head pretend you're talking to them, and then it will be a lot easier than talking to a little piece of glass that's staring at you, a few feet away. So.
Right. We just have a question that came in. It said, can you send a video to an Android phone from an Apple or vice versa, or other phones, or even somebody's flip phone? So who do you think asked this question? There's one person I know who loves his flip phone. So yeah.
Yeah. You can send videos really to any device you want. So you can go from Apple to Android to iPhone, computer. You can transfer them to the computer. The thing with video, I would say, and you may have some other thoughts about this, Jeff, but the file sizes for videos are massive, absolutely massive. So like if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to text them this, 30-minute video that I did, you're not going to be able to do that, right? Like it's too big. So you're going to have to use a cloud storage service probably to do that. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, we have run into that here with some of the recordings that we've done, obviously, which are much larger. We're getting like to around that like hour mark, and you're getting over 2 gigs, 2 gigabytes. You're starting to have some issues with email accepting that and transferring it. So you might have to go to like use your Google Drive, upload it to there first, and then you can share that Google Drive link via email. There's some other options. WeTransfer is one. So
yeah, maybe iCloud if you're on. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry. Another question that came in, is it difficult to begin posting on YouTube?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you may have some thoughts on this, Jeff. I mean, I would say from our experience, yes, just because number one, the weirdness of doing videos, like we talked about, like it's you watch these videos and it looks like it's just somebody sitting in their, their bedroom or their living room, and you think, oh, that's super easy. You don't realize the amount of time they've put into that, the amount of like stuff, they may have lighting, they may have cameras. So I would say for that reason, it's difficult. Also, kind of getting a real hang of like your content and like your message and what you're doing. So like I would say it's something in my experience with what we've done, and admittedly we're not like, YouTube stars or anything, but it's been something where it takes some time, to get good at.
Yeah, I would add on, if you're talking about the actual process of posting a video, I would say that part is actually pretty easy. YouTube makes that like right. Super easy. The hard part, I think, is dealing with yourself as your own critic, because you're going to make videos, and at least for me, I don't know about Jesse, I'm always like critical of what, I'm always like looking at it and trying to break it down and be like, I don't like the way I did that, or I don't like the way I looked here, or did this, or moved. I don't like the lighting. I think once you kind of get used to what you're doing and you accept that not everything is going to be perfect, it kind of makes doing that YouTube stuff a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you guys for the question. Did anything else come in while we were talking?
That's it for now.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys again. What we're going to do now is move on to our last topic, and then we will kind of wrap things up. But the last topic is pretty important, so stay tuned. So we have talked so far about accessing the camera and settings. We have also talked about tips for recording, and we focused on both technique, more of the technical end maybe, and also the actual content piece and you in front of the camera. What we're going to do now is focus on editing and exporting. So now that you have your video, now that you put in all that work to make it, and you have something that you think is going to be pretty good, how do you put it all together? How do you edit it? And then how do you actually get it onto social media or onto YouTube, or maybe even just to send it to an individual? Maybe you don't want it to be, out there. How do you do all that? So as far as editing goes, that's what we're going to talk about first. I would highly recommend that you just simply start by using your phone's built-in video editor. Just like for photos, where we talked about using the photo editor that is on your device and not, downloading some really complex thing or something you have to pay for. The same goes for video. And so I'm going to show you two examples of that on both of these devices. And so we will go with the Apple one first, just because I think we're having a little more luck with that tonight as far as it looking better. So let me get that up here. Just hold on one second. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over. Okay, and so I think, unfortunately, because of the way we have this set up, you're not going to be able to see what I see right now, but let's see if I hit edit. There we go. Okay, now you can see it. So this is the editor for a video on iOS, and this is just when we had the device facing down, so there's nothing on the screen right now, but there would normally be things that you could see there. I just got to that by hitting edit when I looked at the video in the Photos app. And what we can do in here is we can go through the video. This is only like 8 seconds, right? But we could kind of skip through it here. We could do things like crop the video. So, we could, if there was something that we wanted to get out of the shot, or we needed to straighten something up, we can do things with these filters. I know that doesn't really show you too much. I apologize for that. And then we can also do things with like the exposure and different things here. So there's all kinds of different options that we have. And then we can also, we might not be able to get into this too much here, but you can see I can kind of trim the clip. So I'm dragging the sides, those little arrows. And so you could kind of take out parts of a video that you don't like. and then you can preview it there at the bottom. So yeah, that is how you can do that on the iPhone or the iPad side. And again, I would like to have had maybe a actual video to go through there, but we don't have that right now. So that's basically how you get to the editing tools on the iPhone side. And I will say, so as far as like the question of like whether you're going to do this on your device or whether you're going to transfer it to a computer, I feel like you have more control on a computer, but I do realize that a lot of people aren't going to want to be transferring videos. It just becomes more complex. So that's why we're showing you how to do this on a device. I'm going to switch over to the Android device here, and we will see if we can just check out what they have here. So I'm going to open that up, and then there we go. I think we're good to go. So this is the video. This is the same video we just took, a short little video of the desk, basically, because the camera is facing down. You can see we're viewing it now, and we could kind of scrub through there and change the when the video is playing at. But let's go to edit at the bottom. So we'll go to edit, and you should see something that looks fairly similar to the Apple side of things. You can see we can adjust things. We can skip through it. We can drag the little things on the side here to trim the clip. So we could maybe take out the beginning and the end if we needed to. We can do all of the things like that we just saw with cropping, with adjusting, maybe some exposure, maybe some of the color, any of those different things we can do. We can also add filters to it. So many of the same things that you can do on the iPhone side, you can do here on the Android side. I will say, getting back to the whole distinction between doing this on a PC, doing video editing on a PC and video editing on a mobile device, you do have access to a lot more tools on a PC. So we use so I think Jeff uses Adobe Premiere Pro to edit videos, and I've actually been using a free program called Kdenlive to edit videos, and there's a lot more tools that you have. So what you saw on these devices was very simple compared to what you can do on a computer, but then there's a much more of a learning curve. So that's kind of up to you what you want to get into, but that's how you access the video editor. You go to your Photos app, find the video, hit edit, and you are in business. When you go to export the video, like when you would hit save or done in either of those options, that might take a while. The video has to render, and then when you render the video, it's gonna be basically packaging it together, and you're gonna have your brand new edited video, and that could take quite a bit of time, to be honest, depending on the length of the video. So that's something I would not prepare to have everything done in like 10 minutes, because that's probably not going to be realistic, especially if you have a longer amount of footage. All right. Another thing that I want to touch on here about formats. So, what format do you want to use for your videos? MP4 is the most common video format by far. And this is the one that we typically export to. YouTube accepts MP4 videos. I believe Facebook does as well. So whatever you're going for there, even if you're just sending it to an individual, they'll be able to open an MP4. There are some other formats that you could use that would maybe have some advantages or disadvantages, but MP4 is kind of the standard, just like MP3 is kind of the standard for audio. So we typically use MP4. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, as far as the uploading process, so we're not going to be able to show you all of how that works, just because it's not really practical to show that in a class like this. But as Jeff mentioned before, it's pretty easy to actually upload things. Like, it's normally a matter of hitting the upload button, finding where the video is on your device, and then hitting OK, and then it'll upload. Again, as with the rendering, though, uploading can take a long time. And it can consume a lot of data. So if you're on your phone, consider maybe hopping onto somebody's Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi, maybe preferably, and uploading that video, because that can take a while, and it could be over a gigabyte or two just for the video, especially if it's HD. All right. So these are all important things to consider when it comes to what you do with your video. You know, once you're done actually taking the video, we need to edit it, we need to export it, and then we need to have all of that taken care of. All right. So that went pretty quick, I think. As far I know, we're getting close to 7, so I don't want to keep you guys too long. Maybe we'll check back in with Jeff here, and then we'll kind of end this class up and kind of do some takeaways. So, did we have any questions that came in, Jeff?
Just had one pop up here. What am I? Oh, okay, yeah. It says one of my favorite editing apps on the iPhone is iMovie. It's free and easy to use. Lots of tutorials on YouTube. Yeah, iMovie is another good one to use.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and you may know this more than me. I don't know if it was iMovie that opened up when I hit edit in the Photos app. Do you have any insight onto
I believe the Photos app has some basic editing, and then I think iMovie has more options.
I know we had played with iMovie before. Yeah, you probably are right now that you say that. That's kind of what I see here. But yeah, excellent. As far as on Android, obviously we're just using Google Photos, and then if you're on the PC, I mentioned earlier there's some good free options and also paid ones depending on what you want to do. Yep. All right. So we will go ahead and kind of move into our conclusion here. So to just recap what we've talked about in today's class, we first talked about accessing the camera and the settings, and we talked about some important settings to look at, and just some things to think about there. We then looked to tips for recording. So just some common things that you can do to make your videos a little better. We finished up by looking at how to edit and export videos. And again, that was just a very simple, just kind of a primer on how to edit videos on a mobile device. You could go way more in depth with it if you wanted to. You can also hop over to the PC and do that as well. But what you should have gotten out of all this is kind of a hopefully well-rounded introduction to taking videos. And if I was going to leave you with one thing from this class, it is that your phone can take great videos. It's just that you have to know how to use it. You have a great video camera in your pocket or in your purse, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to do you any good. So as a result of this class, you should know how to use it, or you should know at least where to look. And then if you go into your camera app, oh yeah, I recognize that. Here's this setting. Oh yeah, that's resolution. I know what that is. So that's kind of our whole goal with tonight. And if you get out there and just try to make some videos, and if you're wanting to do stuff on YouTube or social media, practice, try to get comfortable with it, and you can get good at talking to a camera, and you can make videos that are really good. And as you progress, you could start to add things like animations, and you could maybe have multiple different clips that you're adding together and editing together, and you could do some really crazy stuff if you want to go far with video work. It's just a matter of how far do you want to go with it? So you now have the tools to at least get started on that journey. What we're going to do before we kind of call it quits for tonight is I want to do a little advertising for some of our upcoming classes. And it's actually, this is kind of an important time to advertise because we're actually doing in-person classes again here starting in a couple of weeks when we move into August. We have a class called Computer Essentials Basic Skills that's going to take place on Tuesday, August 10th. This is actually full. We've had a lot of interest in this, but I'm trying to work, Jeff and I both are trying to work on maybe getting a couple more seats open for this, and we might be able to work something out. So if you're interested, give us a call for that class. On Wednesday, August 18th, we have another YouTube live class. So we're still doing the online stuff in addition to in-person. That class is going to be Declutter Your Digital Life, which is going to focus on your phone and your email and all that stuff. How do you kind of make sense of that and maybe clean up some of that clutter that tends to appear on those devices? we're going to be doing a sort of a follow-up to the Computer Essentials Basic Skills on the 24th, which is going to focus on Windows 10. And that one is going to be in person here at the main library in downtown Massillon. We're going to focus on the Windows operating system. And then I don't know why I have two of those, but there's only one class. So apparently I forgot.
Really excited about that class.
Yes, that's just for emphasis, to really underscore. But yeah, we're doing in-person classes now. This is our contact information. If you want to contact us by phone, you can do that. 330-832-9831, extension 344. You can also email us at trainer@massillonlibrary.org. And we will try to get back with you as soon as possible. That's for questions. If you want to sign up for a class, we do one-on-one appointments as well. If you want to make an appointment and maybe have an individualized session with us, we can do that. Finally, we'd appreciate your feedback. There's a feedback form, bottom of the screen. We're also going to email it out to the registered participants here, and you can let us know what we did, what you think of what we did, what you liked, maybe some classes that you'd like to see in the future. We do try to implement your ideas as best as we can. I'm going to check in with Jeff, see if we had any questions come in or if he has anything that he'd like to add.
No questions so far, but... Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's been a fun class.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you maybe here in person, or if not, maybe at our next YouTube live stream coming up in August. So have a good evening, guys.
Bye.